Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. What's going on? Coach Luka back here with the Vigor Life Podcast. Today's episode comes from, or should I say after a really, really tough, actually 2 to 3 weeks for me. In the last 3 weeks, I'd say 3 people in my life that are either very close, or should I say very close to people I'm very close with, family, passed away. And it kind of just, I think it certainly made me reflect on a lot of things, a lot of tears shed, and a lot of, I would say, memories shared and whatnot. And, put it this way, like in life, those things happen. And then, what do you do after it? What do you take from it? Like any type of, I would say, tragedy or painful thing that happens in your life can be a catalyst. Even regret. I think people, sometimes give regret too much anguish. And what I mean by this is, first of all, I am certainly a person that I want to have the least regrets possible, right? That was one of the 5 things, the 5 regrets people had before that they told that nurse and from that book when they passed away. And of course, you want to avoid those, right? But at the same time, it's inevitable that in life you're going to have some regrets, right? You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to drop the ball. And the whole point of it is that if the regret is painful enough, it teaches you a lesson, right? The regret shows you the way of something not to do again, or maybe to do something different more so, right? So, I've certainly, this has reinforced, just this last 3 weeks, and I've had a lot of loss in my life, but it's reinforced, I would say, the whole notion of like, what the fuck are you waiting for? And what I mean by that is from the standpoint of not only, first of all, people and how you treat people, and, spending time with people that you care about, and like sharing experiences, because you never know when's the last time you're going to see them. Certainly making that a much bigger priority. And that's, that was one of the regrets, is people said, hey, I worked too hard, and I certainly worked too hard and too much at things that I didn't enjoy. But one of them was not spending more time with the people that you love. I would even say it's not just time, but the quality of the time that you spend with them, right? Because you can spend a lot of time with somebody and it's just bullshit, and it's not being present, and it's not being engaged in what you're doing, and it's actually just doing whatever, right? Like, so I would say that, but then also like doing meaningful work and like just unleashing the shit that's inside of you. I think that one of the things in life that it's almost like a duty, right, is to become the best that you can at playing this fucking game, right? The game called life. Is become the best player at this game called life. Like, and I've mentioned kind of my philosophy around that. Every obstacle is a boss. Every obstacle is another level. You beat the level, you get more wisdom and experience, and probably some superpowers along with it, or another life, or whatever else it may be, or coins, or skills, or right. And is to continue to play the game, be the best you can fucking be at playing the game, but then also share with others all those gifts and all those skills that you've accumulated along the way. And because why? And people say, well, why? Well, shit, number one, because it's fulfilling. Like, it will make your life and the journey more enjoyable. Because you leave a legacy, and like whatever happens after, even in the process of the work, right? You get fulfillment in the belief of sharing. And obviously, hey, I'm going to leave something behind. I'm going to leave human value capital behind. I'm going to teach others things that I learned. And I'm going to share a little bit later on with some of these things, like the edge. It's called the edge of your bed advice, which is pretty cool kind of method or thought process. But with that said, I'm essentially like, it's really like, hey, what are you waiting for? Don't wait for it, man, because seriously, like in some of the, I would say, things that have happened in the past 3 weeks have been like, tragical and unexpected and shocking. And you really don't know, how shit's going to turn up on its head, and it's like the whole, like, I'll start tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll wait for the best time. And, man, like, do it now. What the fuck are you waiting for? Really, like, nothing is promised, right? Nothing is promised. And people say like, hey, everything happens for a reason. I'm actually more of a proponent of like nothing happens for a reason. We just have an opportunity to give it a reason anytime something happens, right? You give meaning to things in life, and the meaning that you give them can catapult you, create a catalyst, or, it can get you stuck in a cul-de-sac of negative thoughts and, woe is me in victim mode. So it's like, do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a victor? And if you're in a place right now, I mean, I hope that, like I said, that you don't wait for tragedy, or maybe I would say it's like there is such a thing as too late, right? So have a sense of urgency in, launching and doing shit that you've wanted to do, your gut tells you want to do. Be around people that you love more. And, with this said, I wanted to today share 5 ways to embody some virtues and characteristics. And these specific ones are 5 ways that you can embody courage today, 5 ways that you can embody impact today, 5 ways that you can embody empowerment today, 5 ways that you can embody growth today, 5 ways that you can embody class today, and 5 ways that you can embody self-respect today, because I think those are massively important in this journey. And these questions, I would strongly have you consider just, having them in front of you. Like, seriously, these are the things, remember, like, what you focus on grows. Sometimes you need things in your life to just to stop you and create awareness, right? And make you shift focus. If you're thinking about some dumb shit, it's like, man, focus on what you're going to do, how you're going to change stuff, how you're going to take action, how you're going to, show somebody you love them, how you're going to help somebody grow. So it starts with, courage. And remember, I've many episodes ago, and I've shared it many times, is like, what do I feel about, fear? And I said that, well, I feel that fear is basically, when you're fearful, it's people give more courage, or should I say more value to security than they do to courage. That's fear, right? In many instances, especially, like just about any area of life, right? You just value security more than you do courage. And so it starts, what are 5 ways that you can embody courage today? And remember that, like, let's call this day 1, meaning like today can be day 1. Right? Today can be fucking day 1. When you're listening to this podcast, this can be day 1 of a new start. That's the coolest thing about life, right? And that sometimes tragedy can like smack you in the face, or sometimes it's just like something, it's like you burn to the ground, you rise from ashes like a phoenix, right? But the cool thing is that day can be today, that day 1, this can be day 1, right? This can be day 1 of a new trajectory of your life, a new path in your life. And the thing is, step 1 is fucking believing that. Right? Because, okay, Luka, all right. Well, like, yeah, you can change that shit today. You can start changing it today. Hey, maybe we won't get to where you want to for years, but you can start changing it today. And just the process of changing it and taking action in that change is going to make you feel better about your life and about that day, right? So call this day 1, okay? But here's 5 ways that you can embody courage today. So here's the first one, okay? Actively attempt to be rejected 3 times. Doesn't sound too motivational, but hey, you know what? Like, that's the problem. Like, we try to avoid no so much that we just don't do shit, right? The fear of judgment, persecution, rejection is so strong. So hey, start little by little. And hey, it could be like this little thing where you're like, this person's probably going to say no. Hey, but actively try that, right? You're basically working towards rejection so that you can, it's like cold water immersion. Right? You have to expose yourself, just like fear. You got to expose yourself to fear so that you adapt to the fear or the exposure to cold water, right? That's number 1. Okay, number 2, sit down and consider what list you're using as the checklist for success in your life. And ask yourself, did I write this list? Right? What I mean by that is like, hey, your success list, did you write it? Or did somebody else write it for you? Did somebody else, are you basically going off of somebody else's success list? Right? Because if you are, that's gonna put you. Hey, you might get there and go like, hey, where the fuck am I? This is not the place that I wanted to be. Right? You're living somebody else's dream, like Charlemagne said, like, hey, fuck your dream. In a motivational speech. But that's fuck your dream if your dream is not yours and you're living somebody else's dream. Right? So ask yourself, hey, did I write this list? But first of all, what's your checklist for success as is? What is it? Have you ever written it out? Number 3 is do something that requires 5 seconds of extraordinary courage. Think about that. Okay, think about that. Maybe that's asking a girl out on a date that you've been thinking about for so long, and it's gonna take you. That's 5 seconds. Hey, I was thinking about, would you like to go to dinner with me? Would you like to go to the movie with me? 5 seconds. Okay. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's calling somebody up and, and telling them something that's challenging and difficult because you love them, but you got to tell it to them and it's harsh. Okay. So what is that? But hey, do something that requires 5 seconds of extraordinary courage. Number 4 is ask yourself, where in my life am I settling? Tell a friend your answer and ask them to add you, to hold you accountable for changing it. Okay. Now this is the key. Like what's one of the biggest things in coaching? Like what's one of the most powerful things? I mean, what's one of the most powerful things in surrounding yourself with people that love you, but also push you and challenge you to be better? It's exactly that. That's why mentorship, like I've been in mentorships and coaching for like the last 12 years, and I've had a coaching program for the last 6. And, I get into people's stuff and I keep them accountable to the changes. It's massively important. But first, hey, where in your life are you settling? Is it your body? I certainly, keep a lot of people accountable to the fact that, like, hey, like, you want to improve your life. Imagine this pyramid at the bottom. It's physical. Like, this is the vehicle we're given, just the one vehicle we're given to go through life. If you physically are not on point, hey, like, are you settling there? Right? And you don't have to be like, I don't know, like the greatest, athlete on the planet or rip the shreds or whatever it may be. But hey, is your body supporting your goals and dreams? Because obviously, look, we know all the research on this, or at least we know a ton of research on the fact that if you're healthier, you're fitter, you're more confident, like your brain works better, you have more energy, you can do this, that, and the other. Okay, but like, are you settling there? Are you settling your relationships? Okay, tell somebody what it is and help them hold you accountable to it. Okay, so the last one, or should I say the last one of the 5 on this part is speak up in support of someone with an unpopular opinion you believe is right. Okay, this is something that doesn't happen enough, right? Where you're like, man, I know they're right, but it's unpopular, and if I speak up, then maybe this person won't like me, or I'll have the majority go against me. But I mean, shit, that's integrity, right? Like, I mean, courage is to live in integrity even when, the majority is against you, or it's unpopular, right? Or it's different, or whatever it may be. But hey, do that. Like, can you do that? That's courage. And that's one of the 5 ways that you can embody that today. And questions you can ask yourself to operationalize courage, okay? What did I try today that might not work, but I tried it anyway? And like, man, as an entrepreneur and business owner, this shit is like every day for me, right? We go do stuff. I mean, whether it's like team leadership, whether it's marketing, whether it's like creating new systems and like working it, like, oh man, this doesn't work at all. But hey, like, what did you try today that might not work, but you tried anyway? Right? That's a question you should ask yourself. What did you do today? What did I do today that scared me, right? So what are you going to do today that scares you? What did you do today that you wanted to avoid, right? Or the question for you should be, what did I do today that I wanted to avoid, right? And like I said, sometimes that might be a tough, challenging physical thing. Sometimes it might be, oh, fuck, I don't feel like meditating. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like having this tough conversation with one of my coaches, right? But did you do it anyways? And then what did I do today that I'm proud of myself for trying? Okay, that's like questions to operationalize courage. Okay, so what did you do today that you're proud of yourself? You're like, man, I'm proud that I did that. Okay, and maybe it's like saying I'm sorry, or saying, something you've been avoiding for a really long time, and you finally pulled the trigger on it. Okay, so those are the 5 ways that you can embody that, because all the other shit, like, man, more and more, even as being a business owner, I realize that all, like, what matters at the foundational level is just the character, like how you show up, how you operate. So we talk about these things about, like, everybody right now is on social media, like, impact. I want to make an impact. And man, like, so, I mean, I do too. Like, I do believe deep down inside, everybody wants to make an impact, but making those words, saying words or actually putting them into action when somebody can mute your life and you just watch the actions and, people are like, man, that fucking person's making an impact. Like from little to big. Like how, man, he was opening the door for every person in front of them and doing this and doing that. Like, man, you don't need to say, I don't need to put a cool ass like post up with dope ass writing on IG. And then when I come and meet you, like, none of your day is about impact, right? So this is important. So here's 5 ways that you can embody impact today. Be on the lookout for the word just. And then politely remind people or anyone who uses it that they're not just anything. Well, I'm just doing this. Well, I'm just that. I'm just this. Now you're not just that. Now, because remember, words matter, okay? Because when people start saying stuff like that, there is I would say at least a slight amount, if not even a big amount of like that, beating yourself down. Or it's just like, oh, you know what? I don't want to speak up too loud, or I don't want to step into my greatness. So, hey, be on the lookout for it. Be on the lookout for yourself first too, but at people around you, and just politely remind them that they're not just anything. Number 2 is identify someone in the service industry with whom you interact with regularly and let them know the way that they do their job makes your day a little bit better. Okay, and the thing is that could be like anyone. Like I always like to, we have some awesome girls working at Fit Bar. And like Joshua will make my day. Like she'll write some stuff on it. You guys, if you follow my IG stories, you'll see sometimes I get my athletic greens, my lean greens down at Fit Bar, and there's like a quote written or something nice. And that's that, like, it doesn't have to be the other, and that makes, it fucking makes my day. I smile, I'm like, man, thank you so much. Like, but tell that person that, because you always want to shine a light on positive things. And obviously from being a coach, obviously you want to do that, but you want to train yourself. This is a skill set. You want to do that all the time. You know what I mean? Like if somebody like that, I don't know, was cutting your hair or at the supplement store, like said something nice or did something nice, like, and they're in the service industry that you interact with them, tell them that they make your day a little bit better. Maybe it's like where you go to the cafe and they make you breakfast, right? Do that. That's impact, because impact, I think everybody they think about impact being this huge thing. I dropped this product, I did this thing, but impact starts small. The little things in our life are the things that create the big impact, okay? Especially when you do them thousands of times over, okay? This is a powerful one. I actually did that last week. Locate a former teacher who made a difference in your life and let them know you still think about their lessons. And, I contacted my coach from Slovenia, and we keep in touch pretty often. But to me, he was a coach, a teacher, and certainly impacted my life a lot. Those were the years of me being a pretty big dumbass and doing some dumb shit. And that changed the trajectory of my life. Certainly his guidance and lessons and coaching did. Hey, but do that. Like that's impact, right? That's embodying impact. Here's a one that's small but certainly powerful, is like learn the name and birthday of like somebody, I would say, out of the norm. I would even say, like, definitely a member if you have a business, or if you have a gym, if you have a small business. But hey, like this is kind of, this idea is even more out of the realm. But hey, learn the name and birthday of a homeless person that you see each day, or somebody on the street that maybe is a little more unfortunate, or currently in a situation that could be a lot better, or you're in a much better situation than them. Here's the thing, like that actually takes some courage too. But think about that. That can make an impact. Learn their name and their birthday. And remember that. Hey, what takes it really to the next level, if you can put a reminder in there somewhere and actually do something for them on their birthday, right? And the thing is, it's not about, like, it really is about making, like, learning and creating the skill set of making an impact for people, okay, in general. Because like I said, these are all skill sets. Number 5 is post a profile of a leader in your life and how they've impacted you on social media. And don't tell them that, but just tag them. Like, once again, like learning to do things because you feel it's the right thing to do, or because you want to share how they've impacted you and you want to impact other people, okay? So those are the 5 ways, and questions that you can ask yourself to operationalize impact, right? How to put it to play, how to put it to work, is ask yourself, what did I do to recognize someone else's leadership today? Now, I love asking myself that question. I focus a lot on a team, right? Recognizing, like, for instance, just the other day, I've been really trying to just not say it as much, but do it even if I'm the last person in the gym, the place is messy, and maybe somebody else had chores, I clean the whole place up, even if it takes me an hour. And I've done that a number of times, but like the other day, Jess was here last, I went to Portland, cleaned the whole place up. I wanted to acknowledge that leadership. That's certainly recognizing somebody else's leadership, okay? What conscious act of kindness did I perform today? What did you consciously say? Hey, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do, because it's kind. And that's what the type of person that I want to be. What did I do today to show someone that they matter? I paused there for a second. Okay, how often do you do that? And do you do it consciously? And do you have a reminder to do that? So those are some questions that you can ask to operationalize impact. The next one is the 5 ways you can embody empowerment today. So the first one that you can do is ask yourself, what do I wish someone had done to help me earlier in my life or career? And then go do that thing for someone else, right? One of the ways that I love doing is getting somebody a book, or sending them a blog post, or sending them something that I read that's impactful, that is in line with what I talked to them about. So, for instance, if it's like, man, I'm kind of lost on, I'm kind of lost on like where to go with my life right now. Then I'll get them a book. Like there's a lot of books that I like there, but I might get them Resilience by Eric Greitens and put in a 4x6 card with a note. And just my note would be like, hey, here's 2 or 3 things. And like, this is what books has done for me, but like read through it. Let me know what you think. Right. But that might be something I know I wish that somebody did, like hear me out and then give me a resource or just give me some guidance and direction. Number 2 is pick someone in your network, social media network, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, not on LinkedIn a lot, but, and provide an endorsement for them. Right. That's an empowerment. And the thing is, like, I would say a lot of times too, maybe not somebody that doesn't need the endorsement as much, but somebody that's doing great, like he's doing great things, but he's maybe not as known, or maybe has some self-confidence issues, even though they're doing a great job and they're a great person, and endorse them. Donate $5 to, this is the third one, donate $5 to random Kickstarter GoFundMe campaign. And I'd say 50, but I'm keeping it like, hey, do 5 because ain't nobody gonna be like, oh man, like $5, right? Don't get the Mocha Choca Loca Foca today and put it towards that. That's embodying empowerment. Number 4 is that say something positive about someone who isn't in the room. Make sure their boss, colleague, or someone of influence hears you. You can do that, right? You could talk about somebody that the person you're talking to knows, and saying some positive stuff. And I would even say take it a step further and say something specific that they did and explain that in a positive way. Number 5 is be a friend-tor. Just so we explain what the friend-tor word means, okay? It's someone who tells tough truths to make their friends better. I had a lot of friend-tor moments. I get a lot of friend-tor moments. Jay Ferrugia tends to text me a lot of friend-tor shit pretty damn often. It's funny and yet the same hits hard and definitely makes me shift. And it's usually something in terms of, why the fuck are you doing this? I thought you were the best in the world. I think you're the best in the world. But hey, you know what? Tough truth. But like, hey, what can you do to empower somebody and be a friend-tor and tell a tough truth? And so here's the questions you can ask to operationalize empowerment. What did I do today to move someone else closer to a goal? I think these are great questions to actually ask yourself at the end of the day, because it also can accumulate your wins. We talked about the wins as far as like, building confidence and building your wins and writing like, hey, which wins did I have today? At the end of the day, it's powerful. It builds confidence for the next day. Another question is, how did I make someone stronger today? Hey, listen, like I own gyms and coach people. So like that one is pretty easy on that side of things. But I would go beyond that, right? Because to me, it's like, how do I make somebody stronger today? Out of the realm of that, like how are they strong? How they're a stronger human being, not just physically, but mentally and or emotionally or spiritually, right? Remember, it can be any of those realms. How did I turn my service today? Turn in my service. I'm sorry about that. How did I turn in my service? So think about like, if you are of service, and one of the main things is like when you come into Vigor Ground, I did a commissioned art piece of a samurai with like a Vigor armor. By Alexander Codd, who's a local artist, and dope. And, that was a representation of, samurai in Japan. The word samurai, it comes from the word saburai, which means to serve. And, it's a reminder for, I would say, especially for coaches to understand that, like, hey, we are servants, right? We are of service. So how did you turn in your service today, right? And if I said, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was it? Okay. And then how did I make somebody shine brighter today? I love that question. I love that check, right? How did I make somebody shine brighter today? Like, who did you make shine brighter today, and how did you make them shine brighter today? And those are, like I said, both 5 ways to embody empowerment, as well as questions that you can ask to operationalize it. Okay, strong. Like I said, maybe it's like right now you're listening to this and you're just kind of like, oh, I love that one. Cool, write it down. Like, you don't have to do all of these, although it's certainly powerful. This could be like a 10, 15 minute scan kind of end of the day in your journal. But even just taking the most powerful ones that you like and taking 5 of those and ending the day with that is a great idea that I think will make your days better. I think you'll have to reflect, which is, like I said, reflection and self-evaluation is such a key for growth. And embodying growth is the next thing that I'm going to talk about. But before I talk about it, I have to, because the first way of the 5 ways that you can embody growth today is ask someone the edge of the bed question. And I got that question from Drew Dudley, and the edge of the bed question is this, okay? So just hear me out in this component to find out, because I love this, right? So everyone has wisdom to share. So regardless of your age, experience, level of education, economic status, everyone has learned from their experiences. The lessons learned from what you've done rather than what you've been told constitute your wisdom, okay? What you've done, not what you've been told, right? And anytime you go like, well, somebody told me that, okay, cool, did you do that? Did you experience that, right? So if you haven't, like, that's not wisdom, okay? So the edge of the bed question, think of it this way. Imagine it's the final night your son or daughter is living in your house. Now, this may require that you have a son or daughter. I don't, but I can imagine it, right? Tomorrow they're off to school or getting married or moving away to start their first job. You're walking by the room and they call you in. As you sit down on the edge of their bed, they look up at you and say, Mom, Dad, what's your best life advice? What single insight has most contributed to your happiness? What would you tell them? Now, as with anything, this question has a drawback, somewhat just like the drawback of the question, like, if you could only do one exercise for the rest of your life, which I fucking hate. I hate that question, right? So the drawback is puts lots of pressure on people, right? Ask for a single insight that has most contributed to their happiness. People start looking for some transcendent truth and fail to share some of their most useful wisdom. And if you guys remember, not long ago, I had my 37th birthday, and I did 37 lessons in 37 years, podcast, email, and so forth. And to me, that was essentially one of those assignments that was much better, because I didn't feel like I need to do that, like this one paragraph sentence that's just transcendent. It's just like, I'm going to package it all there for my kids in one fucking lesson, and they're going to take that and be good for the rest of their life. So I like this idea of like, hey, how old are you? If you're 30, if you're 25, you're 22, if you're 37, if you're 40, write that out. And so those are the edge of your bed. That's the edge of your bed advice. Okay. But like I said, use the years. You can do 10, 20, whatever, but I think the years is a good one, right? There's many lessons, and then write that out for yourself. And here's why. Okay. Ask someone, because when it comes to 5 ways you can embody growth today, you can ask someone the edge of the bed question. I would even say, 1, ask them the edge of the bed question, but also share some edge of the bed advice. That's number 1 on 5 ways you can embody growth today. Number 2 is buy a book of random facts. And I don't know if you've ever had the Uncle John's bathroom reader. It's fantastic. And place it in your bathroom. And put it this way. Or what other book can you, that's a quick read or has lessons that people can pick up and read. And man, I love that stuff. I love the short stuff where, you read through something and you're like, wow, man, that's a really powerful statement or a powerful lesson or insight. And because you leave from the shitter possibly, you'll use that lesson and actually do something better that day. So that's something that you can embody growth today, right? Another one, I haven't done this, like this is, I haven't played in a long time. I remember playing this game all the time. If you guys remember Trivial Pursuit, but placing a box of Trivial Pursuit cards on your desk. because then both you and others will pick them up and read them regularly. Trust me. Now, the thing is, if you don't have it, they're not. But if you do, you will. I used to play this game all the time with my friends, with my family. When we lived in London, that was our game of choice. Number 4 is like watch a how-to video on YouTube, and it doesn't matter for what it is. Now, I'd say, look, you want to get better at marketing, watch something on YouTube about it. Read a blog post, go through a podcast. Like every single day, one of the things, like for me, I'm going to read something that's going to make me better, right? And I read books every day, so that's always there. But I also read blog posts every day, usually about something that I don't know or want to know more about. So, for instance, it was like today I read about on a digital marketer about how Nike, with this last campaign, branded and not secrets, but the lessons on how you can incorporate that into small business and so on and so forth, right? And that was probably like a multiple 1,000-word article right there. I've already read for 45 minutes today. I'm probably going to read another 30, 45 minutes before I go to bed. But also, I watch videos pretty much every day on something. Now, I'm always studying courses. And I mean, it differs, but probably about 20 to 30 minutes every single day. Fridays and Sundays, I usually go anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, as long as that, studying courses and video. But every single day I watch video. So, hey, growth. Did you do that today? Okay. And it doesn't matter what it was. And then number 5, cook a new recipe. When I say cook a new recipe, I'm not great right now at cooking at home, and I'm very, very honest, but like, hey, cook up something new, whether it could be like something else, meaning, hey, cook up a new workout, cook up a new way to, make somebody smile and laugh or feel empowered or whatever it may be. But, I am a big proponent of, I think there was a period of time where I did a lot of cooking because, when you learn how to cook, like you're becoming more aware of, obviously, your nutrition, what you put in the foods that you eat, how much of what, and so on and so forth. But that's a great way to embody growth today. And as the questions you can ask yourself to operationalize it is, what did I do today to make it more likely someone would learn something? Right? So if we go back to like that number 1 on how you can empower, a great question is like when somebody, is going through something, and it might be hard, or it might be something that was really good for them, and you go like, hey, what did you learn from that? Right? Most people never ask that question to anybody. But if you said, hey, what was really useful in that? What did you learn? What's something useful that you learned from that experience? And now they have to reflect on it. But a lot of times people won't reflect on things. So you have an opportunity to have somebody reflect on something. Okay? What did I do today that will make me more effective tomorrow? Trust me, I'm pausing for a reason there. That's an insight. But right, hey, journaling, asking yourself this question at the end of the day, writing it out. Remember, I said it's like this 4-phase, right? It's like learn, apply, reflect, and then course correct if necessary. Okay? Those are the 4 steps to like how to improve in everything in life. And people miss that step of reflection. How was I a teacher today? I love this one. How were you a teacher today? And right at the beginning, I said, your goal is to become the best fucking player possible at this game and then teach it to someone else. And that's a big part of fulfillment in life. So how were you a teacher today? And then the last one is, how were you a student today? How were you a student today? One of the last 2 is like 5 ways that you can embody class today. Number 1, apologize. You have to learn to apologize when you fuck things up. And it's like, I think that's kind of really left the building for a lot of people. I was horrible. Well, let's just say for a long time, until somebody didn't actually give me the tough love and say like, that I apologized in circles, like not directly, just like, hey, I'm sorry, like I fucked up. But that's one of the things that like certainly you got to learn how to do. Number 2 is think of someone at work with whom you don't get along. Swing by and offer to pick them up for coffee. Right? Ice thaws 1 drip at a time. I like that. Ice thaws 1 drip at a time. But how are you going to start doing that? Because the thing is, I've done that in the past too. Is just like where, you may not like somebody for a reason. Maybe they did something and it wasn't even bad, intentional. Maybe they had a bad day, a shitty day. And then you create that disconnect, right? And then the story in your mind grows bigger about how that person's not a good person, they dislike you, and so on and so forth. But I would say, hey, be nicer, be kinder, be more loving, and like give people the benefit of the doubt. It's funny that like I was listening to the Joe Rogan Elon Musk podcast, which is phenomenal, and you definitely got to listen to it. But through all the crazy stuff that about the future, and this guy's like a genius. He's talking about. He said, hey, if you have one piece of advice for people, is like he said, you know what? Love does win. Like love. There should be more love in the world, and being more kind and giving people the benefit of the doubt. The majority of people want to do good and want to treat people right. And so, that's like ice thaws one drip at a time, but you be the person, you be the catalyst to show class. Number 3 is identify a moment you disagreed with someone, turned out to be wrong, and never acknowledge that fact. Go and acknowledge the fact. Okay? That kind of goes back to the apologize, but it's beyond that. Okay? It's like saying, hey, I know a couple weeks ago we talked about this, and I realized that like not only was I wrong, but you were correct. Like this is true. I acknowledge that you were correct about this. Hey, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And I'm sorry that I didn't listen back then, but I definitely learned a lesson. Right? So that's very, very powerful, and that's classy. Right? You know what that does? It makes people more open to challenging you and giving you tough love, because they see that you're mature enough to accept it, to listen, to also right your wrongs, or come back and go like, hey, you know what? I was wrong. You were right. Number 4 is publicly recognize the strengths of someone whom you're not particularly fond of. All right. So you might be like, I don't like that person, but man, you know what? They're really disciplined and focused, and I appreciate that about them, and I could learn something from that. That's classy. And it's also for you, what it ends up doing is that like you're able to learn from people that maybe you don't agree with, or maybe even areas of their life you're like, man, I don't like that, or I don't want that, or reject it, or whatever else. But it shows that like you can learn from somebody in that position. And number 5, find a way to use the phrase, okay, let's try it your way. And I would say that like, hey, when you're in any relationship, or certainly like in a leadership position or a team, or if you're trying to, I would say, develop meritocracy inside of any type of organization or business or group, like this is something you certainly have to learn how to do. Okay. So questions you can ask to operationalize class. How did I elevate instead of escalate today? Think about this. This is a powerful question. How did I elevate instead of escalate? Because it's easy to escalate shit. Actually, think about like this is what pretty much the MO of most of the things social media, because somebody puts one viewpoint, and then of course you'll get 2 sides, and it'll just escalate, right? Instead of like, how do you elevate the conversation, or how do you elevate somebody? How did I treat someone better than they deserve to be treated today? And that might be a tough thing to do. Like this is like definitely some dropping the ego type shit, and a question that may make you uncomfortable. How did I treat someone better than they deserve to be treated today? What did I do to make a difficult situation better? What did I do to make a difficult situation better? Man, that's tough. I think that the embodying class is a hard one. It's a hard one on the ego, right? Letting go. Oof. But it's powerful. I think this is where you get to grow the most, right? Like the areas that you might be like, oh man, I do that. First of all, be really brutally honest and check yourself. But if not, hey, what's the area that doesn't make, like go into the area that makes you uncomfortable. Okay. And then how did I admit I was wrong today? Right? Learn to do that. Learn to admit that you were wrong. Because that is definitely important. Okay. And the last one, 5 ways you can embody self-respect today. Number 1, forgive. And it starts with certainly forgiving yourself and acknowledging when you're being hard on yourself and beating yourself up. But I would also say, forgiving others and forgiving things that have happened in the past. And, no more does it ring true. I think it's a Buddhist saying where it says like, when you're mad at somebody else, it's like, holding the coal in your hand, and it's like you're the person getting burnt, right? Even though you want it on somebody else, you're the person that's getting burnt. So forgive for you. Number 2 is put your favorite candy. For me, it might be my favorite protein bar in a cup holder of your car. At some point after a rough day, your future self will want to high five your current self. You know, and honestly, like that's just saying like, hey, you know what? Like do something nice for yourself and be cool with it. Sometimes even if it's like you're veering a little bit off of, you know, for all of us in fitness, the fitness world, it's like, oh man, I can't do that. Man, you know what? Do something nice for yourself, especially at the end of a tough day. I would say like, you know, for me, it's more like things like, hey, you know what? Call it quits a little early, go get a massage. You know, call it quits a little early, go to Banya, Banya 5, don't beat yourself up about it, you know, and your future self will thank you, right? And say no. A respectful no is better than a half-assed yes. Ooh, quote me on that shit. A respectful no is better than a half-assed yes. And ask yourself how many times you did a half-assed yes. And it's almost like, to me, when somebody gives me a half-assed yes, honestly, like sometimes I'm like, man, that's disrespectful right there. You know, whereas if you were just like, hey, nah, I can't do that because of whatever, right? Like, and I'd be like, oh, I respect that. And number 4 in this one is like, reach out to someone you wish was still in your life to say, or here, I'm sorry. Man, that's powerful. Number 5 on this one, I have to kind of reframe what this, you know, what the fake leg is. The fake leg is your crutch. Okay, it's your crutch that you constantly fall on. And a crutch is, look, the crutch could be like physical. You know, it could be something that happened to you in the past. It's some story you fucking hold on to. But ask yourself, what's my fake leg? What's the crutch? What's the thing that you're like, oh man, and you know, and ask again. Tell a friend your answer and ask them to hold you accountable for taking it off. Take off the fake leg, right? Take off the crutch. Take off the bullshit. And here's questions that you can operationalize self-respect with. What did I do today to be good to myself? That's actually a question that like I have to continue to. I've gotten better at this, but I have to continue to ask myself. Is like for instance, I went to Portland the last 2 days. I had a couple meetings, and I have to like literally go, man, now just keep working. But I'll be like, nah, man, get a workout and go to the spa. You know, like, hey, you've had a long day, you bust your butt. Like that was my way of being good to myself that day. Whereas, you know, my MO, my kind of default a lot of times is to just go like, nah, fuck it, man. Go back to the hotel, set up, post up, and just work for another 4 or 5 hours straight. This is the great one. Is like, how was I my own best friend today? Right? What would you do with a best friend? How would you treat a best friend? And like, how were you your own best friend today? What did I do today to prioritize my own needs? Right? These are this is one of those, I would say, important things for, like, at least for me, right? I know that this is one of my, has been one of my kind of self-limiting things, right? Where taking better care of myself. But these are important questions, right? What did I do today to prioritize my own needs? You know, these are good questions at the end of the day. I would even say when you're listening to this, you know, find the things that you want to improve on, like, because some of these questions you might be doing great, but hey, that's the whole point. If you're doing great, sure, keep building on that, but find those weak links and then ask yourself those questions so that you can be more self-reflective and take more action on them. And last one, how did I plant future happiness today? Right, plant future happiness today. Like, you know, planting future happiness, like I said, you know, if you know that one of your goals is to get in better shape, is to feel better, to get leaner, stronger, get out of pain, improve your mobility, whatever it may be. You know, how will you like set yourself up? Well, today you might do work and you're going to sweat and it's going to be tough and especially uncomfortable because you're not used to it. But guess what? You're setting yourself up for a better, happier future, because the day you wake up and you don't have a cranky back and your neck's not like all wired up, like that's, you know, your day is going to be happier. Just your foundation is going to be happier, because nobody is happy when they're moving around and their shoulder hurts and their neck hurts and their hips hurt and their back hurts, right? And it's like, and your energy levels are dropping or going up and down or whatever, right? I mean, that's one example, but you know, it might be writing in a journal, right? It might be writing out the 5 things you're grateful for in the morning. It may be meditating. It may be whatever. And remember, like those things when you're getting them started, they're tough, but it's building a better, happier you in the future. So those questions are powerful. And that's I would say, my five ways that you can series today. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is like, going back to like giving you tools to actually do shit, right? Because, hey, look, I'm all like, certainly at the beginning I said, you don't fucking have, like, you don't have time, right? Like, I mean, memento mori, remember your mortality. And I certainly have in the last 3 weeks again, and it's happened many times in my life. And I want to take that lesson and that pain and emotion and then put it towards something that makes my life and the lives of other people better. And, if you're sitting there fucking like feeling the anxiety or like I would say kind of like the living the life of quiet desperation, man, this is the time. Like, don't wait for somebody in your life to go, man, pull the trigger. Just fucking go. Go and like, don't look back and like ask yourself these questions about how you're embodying these different things so that you can do something, you can change the trajectory of your life, right? There is like, you create day one, right? I said, let this be your day one. You determine what your day one is. Okay, don't let it be like something horrific happens, tragic happens, and then it's like, then you wake up. And shit, some people don't even wake up from that. Okay, so once again, I said like, nothing in life happens for a reason. You have an opportunity to give meaning and reason to whatever happens. And then I will ask you this, hey, is that reason serving you? Is that reason like serving your higher self? Would you say that? Say, hey, listen, this reason and this meaning, could I say this shit is like my highest self? Some people will call it vibration, whatever you want to call it. But like, is this you operating at your best? Right? You can go like, man, that shit's yes. Yes, this is a better me. This is a better, it doesn't have to be perfect, but this is a better me. This is a higher level self. This is not like the woe is me, the victim. This is the fucking victor me. Not Victor the name, but as in Victor the champion. Okay, so take those questions, ask yourself those questions, make to fucking day one. Not even tomorrow. Like, I don't care if you're listening to this shit at 8 p.m. Like, make it today because you can still do some stuff. It's 8 p.m. Cool, write out the questions. Maybe you're going to be like, man, I didn't do any of this stuff today. Maybe I didn't do a lot of that stuff today. Fuck it, let's go. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up. I got these questions. I'm going to do some of these things. With that said, I'm going to finish today's podcast. Do something. The reason for me, whether I'm doing the episodes that are more educational on a topic, but there's always questions and exercises, is because guess what? Without exercise, you can't build skill set. Without doing, nothing matters. Remember, I said, without doing, there is no wisdom, right? It's just knowledge. You have knowledge from someone else. You have some theory, maybe some factual data, but it hasn't become wisdom. Wisdom, even when you do it and it didn't work and you failed, it's still fucking wisdom because you took action on it, right? So take action, because my goal for every one of these is that like you heard a little something that resonated and man, you took action on it. Sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller, but just like bamboo, you're always growing depending on the season. Sometimes it's a little slower, sometimes it's really fast, right? But you're always growing, okay? With that, share this. If you felt that this was powerful, if you felt that this made a difference and is going to help somebody out, please share it. Please go to iTunes, leave a review. It matters. It matters because it gets more people to see it and listen to it. And if it can impact more people, and like I said, this is part of my did I make an impact today? To share some knowledge, some wisdom, and some science as well to kind of change the world a little bit and move things forward. Love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Big Life Podcast. Peace out.